Hello again, YouTube. I'm pretty happy. Mainly because I just feel very optimistic about some things that, at least in the aspect of the Democratic primary for Andrew Yang, I think that he sits in a pretty comfortable position, whether the poll numbers say that or not. What I think is really amazing is you read, things from USA Today. I'll try to put that in the link here. That basically says, well, can he win? Yeah, he can win, and he's doing some really amazing things. But as somebody's vice president, and yeah, no, I don't. I agree. If he got to that point where he kind of got cast aside, but I think the momentum that he's got is just gonna expand. It's gonna blow up because people don't even know who he is yet, right? And the people who do are fervent supporters, and that's because, say whatever you want, he's giving people $1,000 a month to do what they want with their lives, to try to make this country better, because he feels that we're better capable to make those decisions than our government. And as a libertarian, I completely get behind that. I do think that I'm better capable to handle the budgeting of my money better than the U.S. government. So call it getting your taxes back, your theft back, whatever the heck you want. And at the end of the day, it really, to me, the amount of cost inflation that is claimed, it's not completely unrealistic. It very well could happen on some basic consumer goods, but that's already at the whim of Amazon to begin with, which is why we're talking about UBI and automation here and now. So really, when you think about it, how much control do we have over that? No, you don't have to buy goods on Amazon. You don't. You can buy at a local mom and pop shop and not get hit with a VAT tax. But if you want your 2-day shipping or whatever, maybe there's going to be an impact from it. Yeah, it's a theft from a company who's not really a company of one person, right? It's not somebody owning that company. It's a board member of people owning that company, running that company, and ultimately with robots. And eventually, more and more is going to get shifted to the robots. More and more decision making is going to the robots. It is going to go really differently than people are expecting. And I think that it's not a bad thing. I'm not saying be terrified of the robots. Saying understand the robots, not, slow things down, or acceleration either. Like, I'm not saying let's speed it into a collapse, but I do think that we're already wasting a ton of money, to the tune of billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars on wasteful spending and current bureaucracies where we could eliminate that. And the thing that rings true with Trump supporters is people who come here illegally don't get those benefits. The American public, the citizens of this country are getting that. And it's the dividend goes to people who are citizens of the country, age 18 and older. I think there's a lot behind that is to be unpacked, whether it's a whole nationalism thing and reinforcing the rah, 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 United States, red, white, and blue. I can't say that it's not a bad thing to bring people together in this country where we have such division. And I think somebody with these like Milton Friedman-esque principles, these Thomas Paine principles, and somebody who has a higher IQ than most of the people running. I really don't think that he's a traditional politician, and I don't think that anybody's really planning on what's going to happen. John Kerry, at this time in the race, was at like 5% nationally, I think. And this is back when landlines were still a thing, right? So how they're polling is landlines. How they're polling is registered Democrats, registered voters. they're not gonna in New Hampshire, they're not asking the right questions either. It's wild. I've been on the polls, and I'm glad because I get to tell my honest perspective and kind of help at least swing it in a realistic way. I definitely think that the polls are biased to an older generations that have landlines, registered Democrats, traditionally vote. They're gonna vote for Biden. They're gonna vote for Warren. Of course, the polls are distorted. What they need to poll is the internet because it's 2019. Well, I dropped the F-bomb. Oh well. It's 2019, and we really, really need to prepare ourselves for another circumstance that we had before with the general election. And, you know, Trump's going to win again, for sure. I mean, if the Democrats don't run Yang, I really think Yang and maybe Tulsi because of her ability to pull in support, or her as Secretary of Defense, or I don't know, man. She also is a really important facet to this too. I think that if Yang and her were to team together, that they're gonna be the dream team for the 2020 election. Right down the middle, centrists, progressives, libertarians, Democrats, not all of them. I know a lot of people that aren't going to vote for either one of them, but as a stick to the Democratic establishment, I do think a lot of libertarians and, as just a fuck you to the Hillary Clinton brand establishments. I'm not saying that that's my personal approach. I really want to tie people more together. I think at the end of the day, we're all people and we all want to live together and just be ourselves and live for our families and try to make our bakeries and our music and whatever it is that sets you on fire in life. I don't think that we all just want bad for each other and that a red hat or who you vote for in your election defines you. I think that it's more than that. And I think that there's more than that. I think intellect and intelligence and empathy and understanding are all a big facet in this election because we're going through a change in consciousness as a species. It's the dawning of Aquarius, whatever the fuck you think it is that's happening. Things are changing, as they say. And it's whether we're going to get on board with those changes and try to get out in front of them, prepare ourselves for technology, all of the above. Or are we just going to let what happened last time? The Democrats to force the establishment Democrat down everybody's throats. Nobody really wants for president against somebody that they also don't want, really. And even most of the Republicans didn't want and became never Trumpers. And they stopped. They didn't vote. I mean, we had the least amount of people voting in the last election than ever. It was really bad. Whereas you could say record amounts for Obama. That's true. I'm not a avid Democrat or Obama supporter. But I do think that he did bring a lot of Republicans in and stuff to the Democratic Party from an outside perspective. I've never really been a Democrat. Probably never really will be. I'll vote for one, but I live in New Hampshire, and as soon as I get out of that ballot box and I'm done voting for Andrew Yang, sorry, Democrats, but I go right back to undeclared. And I'll continue to do that for the rest of my political life until you guys get your act together. You're not the working party you thought you were, and you definitely did rig the last election. And I voted for Gary Johnson last election. And I will do it again if I feel like it's necessary. I'll write in Andrew Yang. I'll do whatever I feel necessary to my personal political belief, because when we stop voting for who we think is the right person, when we start voting for who we think can win, we get the last election. And the internet is the big divider, the big decider here, not the big divider. It's bringing us ways together that aren't always necessarily good, but it does bring us together, and it allows us to understand each other, and it is the decider of the next election, I think, politically, and just from a change, an evolutionary change standpoint, societally, I guess was the word I'm looking for. We're really going to see a lot of things change this election. This is going to be, I mean, it already started out crazy with 20 million friggin' candidates on stage, and we're down to 7 in the Democratic Party. Half of them nobody really wants, I don't think. I think maybe some people are open minded, and Pete pulls off a lot of voters, specifically with like the boomer generation and the people who don't want to vote Biden because they're also not stupid. But as time goes on, I think he's just parroting what Andrew Yang's saying, and Andrew Yang, I think, brings those people in too. So really, it's going to be who's the stronger candidate to beat Trump, and that, my friends, is going to be where this election gets really interesting. And like I said, John Kerry back in 2004, 5% at this point. Everybody thought it was going to be, I don't remember the guy's name, but it wasn't going to be him. This was the first election I think I ever voted in. It was when they were, running. Anyway, it didn't go the way they expected. And I think that the internet is even more of a deciding factor, and it can sway things in crazy ways like it did with the last election with Trump. Everybody thought Hillary had it in the bag. No, she didn't. And you can blame it on Russia. You can blame it on collusion. You can blame it on whatever you want. They may have all been pieces and factors and facets. Could be. I don't know. Nobody really knows for sure. I think we kind of have a pretty good idea. But ultimately, he won. And he's going to win again if we don't change the way we've approached things in the past. I'll leave you guys with that. Thank you again. Subscribe, like below if you can. And I really appreciate you listening. Thanks. Take care.